Hi, I'm Kristen with an E, and this is Talk with Kristen with an E, a place to slow down, be honest without having all the answers, and feel a little less alone together. Let's talk it out. Everybody, welcome back. Hi, Alexis. How excited are you to be here almost in real life?
I'm very excited. It's been a while since we've done this.
So today we wanted to talk about books. And last year, one of the first episodes in season 1, we had one that was called something about escaping life and finding joy in books. We were really excited about it. And I wanted to do a follow-up because in that episode, we talked about our reading goals and books we wanted to read. And so I want to see kind of how did we do for 2025 and what are we looking forward to in 2026. Alexis, do you remember what you said your goals were last year when we recorded?
Yeah, I do. So I was going to read through the Bible,
Mhm.
and then I was going to read some epic fantasies and kind of go from there. So yeah,
Good.
it
So what
was,
I
and I did
have,
it.
because I have listed
Yeah.
Alexis's primary goals: read 75 books in 2025, read the entire Bible using the Bible recap, and finish Priority of the Orange Tree, your epic fantasy, to continue and complete the series. But you also had some additional goals that you wanted to expand your reading. You're going to try to read more new to you authors like Cindy Steele, Danielle Steele, and you wanted to read more Kristen Hanna.
Yes. Yes.
Good.
And I did all that. I did everything. The only thing I didn't do is continue the series of the epic fantasy, and we
Oh,
can get into that more, but that's purely because, yeah, we can get into that more. I did it. I did change my goal to 140 books because there's
gosh, that's double.
60. Well, okay, but I took the Bible and to keep track, I was putting each book in, and I think there's 66 books in the Bible.
Okay.
Altogether, I ended up with 146 books. Keep in mind, some of the Bible books are only 2 or 3 chapters. Doesn't seem there's a lot of deep information. So if you're studying it while you're reading it, still a lot. So that's kind of what I did. And either way, I hit the 80. It was just a better way for me to keep track.
Okay. And it's funny because when I saw you released your total on Instagram, I was like, oh my gosh, she had so much. And I did wonder, I was like, I wonder if she's counting every Bible book as a separate book, which legit,
Yeah.
that's totally fine.
When I came back through, my Bible is this thick. It's a study Bible. If you've gone through that, this is a lot.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just like reading it. Like I spent time studying it because, the Bible's not just like this easy romance that you can just quickly read through. Like there's some stuff in there. So it was good. I am not reading through the Bible again this year.
Okay.
And I don't mean that in a bad way, but I really want to take more time and study.
So let's see. For my reading goals, I said I was going to read 50 books in 2025. I was aiming for 4 per month with some higher reading months mixed in. And books I was most excited about were Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid, Sounds Like
Yeah.
Love by Ashley Poston, and It's a Love Story by Annabelle Monaghan. And yes, those were all new releases coming out in 2025 that I remember being very excited about. And still excited about now. Spoiler alert. I may or may not have reached my 50 book goal. There's a little bit of debate on that between StoryGraph, Bookmori, and Goodreads. Goodreads said I'd read 52 books. StoryGraph said 49, and Bookmori had 51 or 52. So nobody could agree on how many books I read. I swear I update each of them every single time. I'm not sure exactly how many I read. So I either met my goal or I didn't. When I did, Bookmori had a little chart of all the books I read, and when I counted them, it was 52. So I'm saying it was 52, even though I don't know for sure. Let's just say my
I know
goal.
Goodreads is weird. Like they had me as one more, but if you've read a book and then you do it again, Goodreads does weird stuff.
Yeah.
I don't love Goodreads, but there's
No.
years of stuff on there.
Well, and that's the thing too. And Goodreads, you've got to be careful because if you've shelved something on your Goodreads, but then you read it on your Kindle and you mark it read in Goodreads, it will sometimes count it twice because it's counting that you read it on your Kindle and it's counting that you marked it as read on Goodreads. So I had cleaned up most of those. Maybe there's another one that snuck through or something. But yes, before we go more into books, can we talk about book trackers for a minute? Which ones do you like? Which ones do you don't like? How do you use book trackers? Because I have similar feelings on Goodreads, and I feel like this would be a good discussion point.
So Goodreads was good when it first came out.
Yes.
Unless, did Amazon own it when Goodreads came out?
I don't know if they owned it when it came out or if they bought it after.
Okay. So either way, it was a good theory, but there are so many more options now that I think are better. So I use StoryGraph. Okay. But the one that I love the most, and it's newer, is Fable. I just love it. It doesn't track audio versus Kindle versus an actual physical book, which is why I still keep StoryGraph, but I want to kind of ditch StoryGraph because
I have Goodreads and StoryGraph and Bookmori. And for similar reasons, like you said, I've been using Goodreads forever. I think I started using it in 2010. So I can go back and see books I was reading in 2010. And I used it very much from like 10, 11. And I think I dropped off because I was actually looking at it recently because it saved so much of my stuff because I can see my year in review for all these years. But then there's several years where there's none. And I don't think it wasn't that I wasn't reading any. I don't think I was reading as much, but I definitely wasn't tracking it. I feel like Goodreads is the basic one and it's kind of the easiest one to use. And that's still where I've got a lot of, I don't know if social is the right thing, but I've got so many connections on there. I see what my friends are reading and I comment on things. So I still use it that way. But I love StoryGraph the most because I love all the charts and graphs it gets. I love to see the different moods that I had while I was reading. I like seeing the different genres. I like them breaking them down. I like the little line graph of showing how many books and pages I'm reading. I guess I'm a nerd with all that I love all the visualizations from it.
I will say that's superior.
Yes.
Comparatively, their graphs and stuff are actually really fun to look back. But I think maybe I like the more social aspect of Fable and I can see what people are reading, but I don't have very many friends on there.
No, and I like Bookmori, and I started using Bookmori a couple years ago, and I find that its interface is really easy. Like, on StoryGraph or Goodreads, you have to click on editions and pick whether it's the ebook or the physical book or the audiobook, whereas in Bookmori, it's just a drop down because it's like, how are you going to read it? Ebook, paperback, audio, and you could just pick it right there. And it's so much more user friendly. And they do a monthly calendar and they show your book that you finished and the rating of it on a calendar, which I love. And then at the end of the year, it showed all of the books, like the book covers and the stars. Goodreads, when they give you your image at the end, they'll put some of the ratings by like your 5 stars, but otherwise it's just a list of books. I feel like I need all 3 of them for different reasons. It's funny, like whenever I add a book that I'm reading or I finish a book, I have to go to, let me go to this app and update it. Let me go to this app and update it. I guess I just need somebody, app developers out there, if you're listening, I need the functionality of Goodreads. I need the ease of Bookmori. I need the reports of StoryGraph. If you can put all of those things in, that would be the best book tracker for me.
It's interesting to hear about Bookmori because Fable has that with the calendar, but they don't have the ratings. And I love adding the ratings to it. Okay.
Right.
So no, yes. I can't download it. I have to delete an app to get decisions.
I put my ratings on Goodreads and Bookmori, but not on StoryGraph because StoryGraph, I'm focused more on the information it shows. So I guess I only put a couple reviews on my StoryGraphs. At the end of my report, it was like, your average rating is whatever. And these are the books you rated. It was literally like 2 or 3 books. And I was like, that's not a good way to come up with an average rating because I didn't actually rate all of the books. It's messy, I guess.
And I will say the one thing I despise about Goodreads, this is my main complaint, is I am a 4.5 star or 4.75 and they don't give that. And that's the thing I love about Fable is as soon as you finish it, you could put it's on. I always have to round on Goodreads and I'm like, that's not my true review of it. But that's probably the thing I actually despise the most.
Yes. Bookmori will let me do half stars and StoryGraph, the few times that I have done it, it does let you go 0.25, 0.5, 0.75. So you can do any range of scores there. So yeah, Goodreads. Get your stuff together and be more like these other companies. All right. So those were our goals. And you said you met yours. I said I met mine. All right. So let's talk about the books. What were some of the ones that you talked about that you wanted to read in 2025? Or even if they weren't ones that you talked about, what were some of the best books you read in 2025?
2025 was an amazing year for me with reading. And I don't know if I'm gonna ever be able to top it. And I don't know if it's just because I discovered how much I really like fantasy books, But now this will lead into this. It was so good. I'm scared to go into it because I don't want to be disappointed. Books, because they were good. So I read The Priory of the Orange Tree. She has two other books with it, but one of them's really thick. That one took me 6 months to get through. And
Really?
it was a lot. I had to do audio and that. Now that I'm through it, I can totally get into the series and be fine. It was really good for me. It stretched my brain and made me have think, not just like read for pleasure and just what I call junk book. You know what I mean?
Oh,
We
yeah.
talk about junk books
Hmm.
versus like good literature. But because I read that, it flung me into her other series called The Bone Season. And so that's why I didn't read the rest of that series. I do want to read it this year. I don't know, it's not a goal of mine, but I do want to read the rest of that series. So The Bone Season, Kristen Hanna's Four Winds, and then the One Dark Duology top books. I couldn't honestly pick a favorite because I loved them all for different reasons. The Bone, I think about them all the time. The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. Think about that book all the time, all the time. And you and I read that together, like, and it was so good. I love that. And I want to throw this in. We read Atmosphere together, and I do love that book. It was such a good book. It's so well written, and the story just is so gripping. So I just read so many good books, and reading through the Bible was so good this year. It grounded me in a lot of time when we had a rough year. So it grounded me in a lot of that. I had a really hard time narrowing it down to 10 books that I loved. The Bone Season, though, it's got a little bit of aliens. They're not really aliens, but they kind of are aliens, dystopian and fantasy, and like a very slow burn romance. So it can't be considered romantasy, but yeah, I don't know.
That sounds like a very
It
good
was good.
list. Before we started recording, I'm like, well, let me go through because I know there's a few books that I read that I really, really loved that I still remember, still think about throughout the year. I was like, let me go see like the ones that I rated 5 stars on Goodreads. The ones I loved the most this year, and I didn't write down the authors, but All the Ways We Said Goodbye, Hidden Potential by Adam Grant. That one was amazing. The Great Alone. We're going to deep dive into this one a little bit, Alexis, if you're up for it, because The Great
Oh
Alone
yeah, I'm good for that.
was so good. Like, and it's funny, I have them right here because they were so monumental, right? The Four Winds, which you already mentioned, which I did a reread of this year. This is still one of my favorite books of all time. I will probably read it again. And I don't normally read books again, but reading it the second
Neither do I.
time
It's
was
one of
so
those.
good. And then The Great Alone. Oh my gosh. This book, we will talk about it more. The other books I
I
love
feel like
this
we need a Kristen. We
we
need a
do.
Kristen. We do.
You're right. We do. Let's mark that one down because, yes, I have so many thoughts and we could talk about all of her books at once and how they're ranked. Yes, we will do that. But then Atmosphere, which I mentioned, Taylor Jenkins Reid, can't go wrong with her. And oh my gosh, that book was so good. The Last Twilight in Paris. First Lie Wins. This was the first book I'd read from Ashley Elston, and she has another book coming out. It's either out already or it's coming out later this month because I'm going to go see her, yay, and get a copy of
Yay.
it. That book was so good. And West with Giraffes, which was a book I probably would have never read except it was in the book club girls or the book girls guide that I was doing there reading through the decades challenge, and it was the book from like the 30s or something. Oh my gosh, so good. And then Perfect is Boring. We mentioned that one because it's the one we read for our book club podcast last year, but I really enjoyed that one as a nonfiction too. Now,
Yeah, we could delve into that. Was on my list, and that book changed me a lot this past year. So yeah,
yeah, well, do you want to talk about that part now then?
we can. We
Okay.
can. I set boundaries, and it caused a lot of issues. But honestly, it was the best thing for everything in my family. I had to exit my introverted comfort zone, and we joined a small group at church, which has been so good. I've been doing stuff with the ladies, like we did a Christmas party, and now we're doing a book club together. So, an in person book club. So, yeah, honestly, it really, at the time, I was like, oh, Kristen, not one of these
Yeah, I
books. I mean,
believe you were
remember we,
saying, like, I don't actually read nonfiction or like self help books. Like, this is not something I'm going to enjoy. And I'm like, okay, well, thanks for being a part of this. You're going to read it anyway.
and I was like, I'm going to do it and it'll
Mhm.
be fun.
Yeah.
And I loved our time together. Like, I
Yeah.
really did. And it was so good. But then at the end of the year, I had to reflect back and I'm like, wow, I think that book outside of the Bible might have changed my entire year more than anything else. So, yeah.
But isn't it funny though, like how I don't know how it all comes together. I'm always looking like, oh, everything happens for a reason. And if this hadn't happened, this wouldn't happen and this wouldn't happen. The three of us, like you and I know each other from college 20 plus years ago now. Kelly married my brother. God love her. And for you both to be so willing to read this random book that I'm like, hey, you guys want to read a book and talk about it on my podcast? So many crazy things came together for that to happen. And the meaning that it had on your life when you need it, the timing of it was such a God thing. And I'm so excited that you've come out of your shell. That's huge.
Yeah, it's true. Honestly, I chose to change a lot of things that needed changed. And I'm not so introverted anymore. I might actually even dance one day. We know that's a big thing, you know.
I love that. So excited. All right, so those are the books that we loved. Let's talk briefly about any books you really didn't love, any books you had to DNF, or any books that you were excited about that you had high expectations for that maybe didn't live up to that.
There was a book that's been on the bestseller list for months. It took 36 months for me to be able to read it.
Oh my
36
gosh.
months, okay? So I expected this, like, I don't want to start this reader. It's like the colors of something. I can't even remember what it was. I think it's by, I don't even want to say who. It's written so beautifully, but there's just so much trauma. I had to put it down. I rarely put books down, but I was like, I can't do this. It's just too much trauma. Maybe it was my frame of mind. I don't know, but I put it down. 36-month wait, and I put it down.
Wow. That is a huge lie.
Yeah, it was not terrible. I think people either love it or hate it. And I've seen people read it and say the same thing that I did and then decide to come back to it. So, there's always that. It's All the Colors of the Dark by Chris Whittaker.
I'm not familiar with that.
I mean, it was recommended to me, so I put it on there. And yeah, I'm glad I didn't buy it because it was on sale at one point. And I'm so glad I didn't buy that. So, and then the other ones were probably, okay, this is a whole nother topic in and of itself. There was a couple of romantic ones that I started and then I just put down because I'm just like, okay, these are so poorly written, or there's way too many smut scenes that I can't just like fast forward them and I'm not listening or reading.
Yes, I thankfully had fewer of those this year, but I was more deliberate in the choices I made of what I was going to read. I feel like so many times, like you said, taking a recommendation, I would take recommendations from anybody. And then I started realizing that just because somebody loved a book doesn't mean I'm going to love a book. We all have our own preferences, what we like, what we don't like. So I was much more choosy of the suggestions I would take from people. So this month or this year, I focused more on reading what I wanted to read and not what other people thought I should read. So I still did my book club books, but they were, for the most part, very, very good. And then the ones that I was doing for the Decades Challenge, the Book Girls Guide, I was still able to pick which book from each decade I wanted to read. So I was still in control of that, reading what I wanted to read. And then of the other books I read, I'm still a mood reader, so it would depend on my mood or what I felt like reading. I was making those choices. So in general this year, I liked most of what I read. There were a few things that I didn't. Well, first, there was one and a half that I did not finish. So I did not finish The Illegals, which was about Russia's most audacious spies, which I thought I was really going to like because I love the show The Americans. I love reading about that kind of spycraft, and it was just not good. I was doing the audio version. Maybe if I'd been reading it, it would have been different, but I just could not get into it. I DNF'd that one. The other one, which I'm not counting as a DNF, but also did not finish, The Hobbit. My son wanted to read a book, and my husband's like, oh, you should read The Hobbit. It's a great book. Keep in mind, my son is 12. He's not a reader like I am. But then mom was all supportive, and I'm like, oh, if you're going to read The Hobbit, I'll read The Hobbit. I love those movies. This will be so good. It was not so good. It's very well written, but I was just like, I don't want to read this. So I did not put it on a DNF list. In fact, I think in Bookmori, I just have it on pause and it's got like 176 days paused or whatever it is, because I want to go back and finish it. I made it past 50%. I would like to finish it sometime. but not right now. But the other ones that were disappointing to me, there was a book I read about Y2K that I thought was going to be more like nostalgia and good vibes. It ended up being like political and the author's personal opinion of current day things. This isn't what you guys sold me on the cover and the description. The one that I did want to talk about briefly, because I think you've read this one too, is Homefront by Kristen Hanna.
Yes, Homefront. I had to think about it because when I was reading that, I read a couple other military ones. So
Yeah.
but yes, I know which one you're talking about.
Did not love it. I do think part of it was the audiobook because the narrator was not Julia Whelan, and I was pretty sure Kristen Hanna always had Julia Whelan do all her books. The narrator was not good. I didn't love the character development. I typically love Kristen Hanna books. This, I did not. Like, I finished it because it was one of the Decades books that I was reading, but did not love it. Sorry, Kristen. You've got lots of other better work.
I think there are some that are hit or miss. I cannot stand her Winter Garden book. People love that one.
I love that book.
I didn't love it. I think it's either hit or miss. The Great Alone, I really liked it.
Okay.
We just need a whole podcast on
We're going to
her.
do that. We're going to set it up. We may even schedule it at the end of this one because I have so many thoughts on it. Same thing with Nightingale. People love The Nightingale, and that was a book to me. So yes, we will save all of this for a future Kristen Hanna episode that will be amazing, and we will deep dive into all of them. Were there any other books that were kind of misses for you this past year?
No, not really. I mean, there were some books that I just read because I'm a mood reader, so I would just pick it up and read it. They weren't necessarily anything amazing, but they weren't bad either.
Okay, so let's talk about surprises for a minute then. Were there any new authors that you found that you ended up loving, or any new genres that you got into that you didn't realize you would enjoy?
So Samantha Shannon is probably become one of my favorite authors. She's a British author. She wrote her first series when she was 17 and was compared to J.K. Rowling.
Really?
Okay. Her writing is just very well done, but I don't know that her books are necessarily for everyone. It's kind of, do you like Harry Potter? You might not like. She kind of became a favorite author of mine. I would probably read anything she wrote at this point. Kind of one of those, you know?
Yeah.
Because I really just loved her. I mean, she's the Bone series, and The Priory of the Orange Tree was, okay, so that book was so long, and there's things that I think that could have been cut out. But on the other hand, as a whole, I didn't look back and be like, I wish I would have never read it. It was so thick.
Oh my God.
I don't question whether I read it. Like, I really enjoyed it. So there's that one. I'm trying to think if there was any other authors. I read the Cindy Steele ones, and then there was another author that passed away tragically. And I read her books. They were just romance, kind of like Cindy Steele books, and I really enjoyed those. I read all of those on Kindle Unlimited to kind of support her.
I remember when that happened.
I really was surprised at how well I enjoyed them.
Yeah. So similar, what's funny is I think when we recorded last year and I was talking about how I did enjoy historical fiction, but I got tired that, there's so much historical fiction. It's all World War II. Like, I don't want to read any more Holocaust books. Several of the books that I really enjoyed this year were historical fiction books set in World War II. But they weren't necessarily Holocaust specific. The Last Twilight in Paris was kind of Holocaust adjacent, not necessarily a total Jewish story. And I really love that one. All the Ways We Said Goodbye was around World War II. What I've found this year, and based on my stats from StoryGraph, historical fiction really is my favorite genre, with a very close second to romance, contemporary. Like, that stuff is all kind of in the top still. But I love historical fiction, and by doing the Book Girls Guide Decades Challenge, it exposed me to even more historical fiction from different time periods that I wouldn't normally have read, like the West with Giraffes book from the 30s, and there were so many other books from the 70s. That was The Great Alone, and there were so many different time periods that I got to read that expanded my view that no, not all historical fiction is World War II. There is other historical fiction out there, and I loved getting more involved in that, and those really are the books that I am drawn to. I still love romance books. One of the new authors to me this year was Catherine Center. I had never read her before, and I'd even heard about her when I went to a Sophie Cousins event at the end of 2024. This lady Allison was like, oh my gosh, if you love Sophie, you would love Catherine Center. And I was like, oh, okay. thank you, and never thought about it again. And then when there was a Catherine Center book on NetGalley, I was like, all right, I'm not losing anything by reading this free book from Catherine Center. I'll see if I like it. Oh my gosh, it was so good. It was The Love Haters by Catherine Center. I met her last spring and had a fun little chit chat with her. Absolutely loved her. The book was so fun. So my plan this year is I'm going to start reading through some of her backlist. I already got The Rom-Commers and The Bodyguard. I think I'm going to read at least one, if not both of those, and just kind of get more into Catherine Center because it's romance, but it's like there's heartfelt meaning to it too. It's not just cheap rom-com stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes
That's one of the
total
ones
sense.
that I got into. And like I said, Ashley Alston, I read First Lie Wins of hers last year. So good. Anatomy of an Alibi is the book she has coming out this year, and I plan on reading that one as well. She's more thriller too, so like thriller, mystery kind of stuff. I still dabble in all the genres, even though I lean more towards historical and romance.
Yeah.
So, looking forward in 2026. What are your goals for 2026? Do you have a number? Are there any specific goals or books you are looking forward to?
Yeah, so I have struggled since November to really sit down and read. My brain cannot like calm itself to read. Perimenopause, I don't know what it
That's
is.
my excuse for everything anymore. I'm in perimenopause.
But I am struggling to calm my mind to read. And I think we've just had so much going on. I listen to a lot of audiobooks, and I don't know if maybe that kind of messed it up. But either way, I am struggling to read. So this year I had this grand idea. Keep in mind, I was sick going into the new year. So when I am sick, I don't always make the best choice. But we're going to go with this. I was reading, and this is going to be controversial, but I wanted to read it because I read both sides. So I read Eric Trump's Under Siege. It's a new book that came out. It's talking about his dad, and I found it really interesting. So when I was reading that, I was like, you know what? I'm going to just read a biography of all of our presidents this year. What was I thinking?
Wait, there's 46 presidents? I mean, I know some of them had multiple terms.
Right. But I'm going to do this because here's where I was at. I just feel like I needed some, because we have homeschooled for so long, I have avoided a lot of nonfiction books just purely because my brain is tired and I need just something that's fun. And I already am learning, I'm reading these to my kids. So I wanted something else. Well, we're kind of at a stage where my kids are doing their own stuff now. So I'm not reading as much. So I thought, okay, I'll do this. Apparently there's somebody that's already had this grand idea because there's a whole website of the best biographies of all the presidents. So I started with George Washington. And the problem is the book is 42 hours long. And I'm like,
you're not going to get through all the presidents.
So, okay, now I've kind of lowered my expectations. I'm going to read 75 books. I'm going to read some more nonfiction books. I am still such a mood reader, but I am kind of being a little more picky and choosing about what I'm going to read. But I have some more historical fiction books because I do enjoy them. Book club is kind of decide, some of those. So right now I'm reading a book club book, the Guernsey Potato Pill Society. I think I got the title on that wrong. Everybody loves it. I am enjoying it, but I don't like the format. And it's a World War II book, but it's not, okay, so it's set after World War II, but they reference what happened during World War II. And we have talked about this, like we're kind of over the World War II books, but I'm enjoying this. So it's kind of like you with yours. I haven't really fully fledged out my goals because I started the year off sick and messed up with just everything. So just more nonfiction, 75 books, and maybe being a little more picky about what I read instead of just reading to read, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I love that because that's what I did last year, being more particular about the books that I chose to read. And it really did make a difference because reading what I wanted to read meant I was already going to like it. Even the books I didn't like were my choices. I wasn't reading because of somebody else. I actually lowered my goal this year 50. While I thought it was going to be doable, I did get it, depending on which tracker you ask. I feel like I cheated on some of it because I did read some short stories. Like Amazon does those like a holiday. They've got like short stories that you can read like an hour or less. So I had read a couple from their Halloween series and their Christmas series. Not a lot. I think I read 2 from each. As it got towards the end of the year and like StoryGraph is all like 4 more books till you're back on track, I started struggling and like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to make my goal. Oh, I've got to read more books. And I ended up just kind of reading just to get the goal. And that's not a really great thing to do. And my friend Laura pointed out when I was kind of complaining about The Hobbit to her, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just so long. Like it's taking me so long to get through it. And she's like, your problem isn't the book. Your problem is because you focus so much on your number and it's taking you longer and you're getting behind because this book is taking longer for you. And then my husband told me the same thing.
It's true.
He's like, maybe you need to focus on just reading good books instead of trying to meet your number. And I'm like, okay. So having said all that, I've gone back to something that I used to do. I think starting in 2020, I was like, I'm going to read 20 books because it's the year 20. So I went back to that and I did it for 22 and 23 also. Usually going over, but that's fine. I am going to read 26 books in 26. And I will probably still beat that because I typically read 3 to 4 books every month. I usually have at least 2 audiobooks because I listen a lot on my commute to work. And then if I even read 1 book, I'm already at 3. So I'm confident I'll meet this goal. I didn't want to stress myself out by trying to have to meet a number because the books that I really didn't enjoy the most last year are ones that I just kind of added to make my number. I'm going to read 26 books. I'm already 2.5 in, and as we're recording, this is still early January, so I'm on track. This year I am doing, so last year I did the Book Girls Guide Decades Challenge, which every month you read a book from a different decade. The year before I did the Book Girls Guide, in case you missed it, I'll link it in the description. So this year from the Book Girls Guide, I am doing the Book Girls Bingo. There's a bunch of different categories on it, and then each month they put a surprise prompt up. So January's surprise prompt was reading a book that was made into a movie or TV show. I'm currently reading All Her Fault, which, oh my gosh, I'm like 70% in and I'm still like, what is happening? Who did what?
Is that the one that's on Peacock?
Yes.
Okay, so you told me about that. I bought it. It's on my next to read this month because I have Peacock and I want to watch it. So
yes,
we could read it.
Yes, we're going to have to discuss it. Yes, because I need to talk about this book. But that's the January prompt. So what I'm going to do is read the books I want to read and figure out where they fit on my bingo board. Each month they're going to have a surprise prompt. And some of the other ones are About a Woman in STEM, a book that explores the senses, a book from our animal lovers list, a book about books, a backlist title from one of your favorite authors. And they said you can either get bingo like the 5 in a row or you can fill up the board. So I'm really just going to kind of do it and fill in the boxes as I read a book that fits there. We'll see how my bingo board is at the end. And then I've got my book club books. We do our book club every other month. So I'll be reading 6 books from there also. I will easily trample over my 26 book goal, but I wanted to do something realistic to not burn me out.
I found that last year, like fantasy books are just long. They really are. They're long books. They're typically over 500 pages. Some of them are 900. And so I kind of had to give up this idea of a lot of books. I may change my number halfway through the year. I'm hoping I get my reading mojo back. Because I've got a Kindle full of books and I don't really want to read.
I feel like that sometimes, and I go through kind of phases like that. There's sometimes where I'm like, all I want to do is read. I want to get home from work, have dinner with the family, spend time with them, and then go read. Other times after dinner with the family, I'm like, let me watch these 1,800 different YouTube videos. It's just about where I'm at mentally and emotionally and the energy that I have. If we can talk about your president's thing for a minute, I don't think that's a terrible idea. Maybe it's not all in one year. Maybe it's a multi-year goal. Like maybe your plan is to read a biography on every president before 2030. And it gives you 4 years, like a presidential term, and just kind of go through them. I actually kind of love that idea. I mean, I'm not going to do it, but I love that for you.
I love history and I like politics. And I know that's taboo, but I love politics and I love history. And so I realize how much presidents really do influence politics. If you guys really dug into who George Washington is, 2026 America would hate George Washington. I'm just going to be blunt. He left some Native Americans beat him up because they turned on him. No, just left them. That would never pass now. And I'm not saying it's right by any means.
Right.
These men really had a lot to start this country. Like they had some fortitude to start this country. And so it's really fascinating. I have learned so much. And my kids, on my birthday, asked for the manners book that he used
Oh, wow.
because he didn't have an education like Thomas Jefferson or Hamilton. And he was resentful of that because they would have learned Latin and had this higher education and he didn't have it. So he took it upon himself, but he copied painstakingly 100 manners from an etiquette book just because he could maybe he considered the first one to like want good wages because he wouldn't even get paid. He said, I will work for free versus getting paid what you want to pay me to be like a surveyor, or when he was kind of starting to be like general and stuff. So yeah, it was interesting. I've learned a lot. It's hard because I really have to think. It's been good. It's really good. And I'm going to keep it up. Although I've been told that the middle presidents, like some of the 1800s, you know, they're really boring.
Probably are.
We'll see.
Before we close, any other thoughts about anything you read last year, anything you're looking forward to reading this year, any recommendations you want to make for anybody?
I will say Kristen Hannah just always like the Four Winds, I think is always. And then I think the Bone Season, if you like dystopian fantasy, you should do that. I am looking forward to the author that I've told you about that I got into zombies. She's supposed to be releasing her last book in this series, and I am so looking forward to delving back into that.
Oh,
and
wow.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, for me, I know there's several new releases coming out this year that I don't know if I'll read as soon as they come out, but I'm at least tracking. Spencer Pratt's book is coming out soon. Spencer Pratt, soon to be mayor of Los Angeles. His book's coming out. I'm really excited about that. My favorite authors all have books coming out this year. Well, not Taylor Jenkins Reid doesn't, as far as I know, but she and Kristen Hannah are kind of every other year or every 3 years kind of people. Annabelle Monaghan has another one. Catherine Senner has one coming. Ashley Poston, they all have books coming that I'm very excited.
Kristen Hannah has one too.
I haven't seen it yet.
I think so.
Okay.
I might be wrong, but I am almost positive she has one coming out this year. She released The Women 2 years ago.
That's right. So it is about time for that. Let's see. We'll look it up real quick. Kristen Hannah, new release 2026. She doesn't have a new book confirmed for 2026.
Oh, maybe not then.
Yeah.
I thought she did.
Yeah.
Maybe it was.
It's rumored in 2027 that her first draft was completed in 2025, according to Google. But we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever read The Midnight Library by Matt Haig.
I started it, but I got one page in and then I forgot about it.
People
and
either
returned it to the library.
I think people really like it or really don't. I enjoyed it. So he has a second book coming out called The Midnight Train that I think is supposed to be a follow-on from it. I don't know a lot about it, but I'm planning on reading it anyway. So that's another new release that I'm looking forward to. So that's what I'm looking forward to in 2026.
There's never a lack of books.
There's so many, and you can never get ahead of it because there's more being published all the time. That's why people's TBRs will never be done, because you're just going to keep adding more books that you want to read. It's a never-ending cycle. But not a bad cycle.
That's very true.
It means we'll always have something to read.
Hopefully.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I actually wanted to buy books this year. I did get a couple books, but I honestly cannot read a physical book anymore. I read physical books for my kids for school, but for personal reading, I just need my Kindle.
Yeah.
Go to the free little library.
Yeah, I read The Great Alone in hard copy because I wasn't able to get it through my library like when I needed it or whatever. The wait was too long. So I did read, and I thought it was going to be really hard because I've been so spoiled. My old lady eyes, and I can make the font bigger on my Kindle. It was an adjustment to go back to a physical book, but I got myself this little light that puts on it, so I've got the light right on the pages so my husband can have the lights off. I still prefer ebooks, but I can read a real book if I had to. But yeah, I prefer ebooks and audio. Alexis, any final thoughts or closing bits of wisdom you'd like to leave with our listeners?
Keep reading. That's all I'm going to say. Just keep reading.
That's great advice. All right, everyone, keep reading and feel free to reach out and let us know what your favorite books are or what you are looking forward to reading in 2026, or if there's recommendations of books you think that Alexis and I should read. Until next time, we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for spending this time with me. I hope this conversation made you feel a little less alone. Take care of yourself, and I'll talk with you soon.